Hey guys, Kume2000 here, and today I'm going to be doing something a little different as I'm going to be reviewing Sonic CD, a game many seem to like. I originally played Sonic CD on the Sonic Gems collection on the PlayStation 2 many years ago, but I have lost it. So for this review I'll be covering the improved Christian Whitehead version. Now this version gives you a few additional options, like the ability to choose which type of spin dash you can use, with this version opting for the Sonic 2 version. You can also play as Tails once you beat the game with Sonic, which is a nice little addition. You can also choose which soundtrack you want to listen to, as they vary between the US and Japan. I've already beaten the game via the Gems collection, which used the US soundtrack, so for this review I'll be using the Japanese soundtrack, which is said to be the superior soundtrack. Actually, a lot of people think Sonic CD is a superior Sonic game in general. Some claim it's the best classic Sonic game, and some even say it's the best Sonic game in general. So is this game really that good? Well, let's find out. Let's start with the story. Sonic is heading to Little Planet, a small planet that appears over Never Lake once a year. It turns out Eggman has gotten there before him and mechanized the entire planet and chained it to the Earth. That's pretty much it. Sonic goes to save the day. We're introduced to Amy Rose, who was known as Rosie the Rascal, who went to Little Planet to find her true love after reading tarot cards that said she would meet her true love on the planet, or something like that. And we're also introduced to Metal Sonic, Sonic's robotic doppelganger. There are also these special gems that are hidden in special stages called the Time Stones. These stones have the ability to manipulate time, as the name suggests. To get to the special stages that house these stones requires you to beat a level with 50 or more rings and jump into a giant floating ring. Once in these special stages, you need to chase down and destroy UFOs, yes UFOs, within the stage within a time limit. These special stages are pretty fun, a little unpredictable at times, but enjoyable. The only real annoying thing about these special stages is getting to them. The levels are filled with enemies and traps that come out of nowhere. Let's talk about Sonic's moves, shall we? Sonic controls, well, like Sonic. He can spin jump, spin dash, and do this new move called the Super Peel Out. It's basically a non-rolling spin dash that's much faster. It looks really cool and seems to be a fan favorite move, probably because of the way it looks. That's basically it for Sonic's moves, but something I should mention is that you can pass through these time travel poles to travel to the past or future. To travel through time, you need to keep your momentum for a period of time before you whiz off to the past or future. Now this sounds fun in concept, but it's a bitch to use. The level design isn't built around it at all, as the levels are filled with enemies, traps, and obstacles you can't see coming, which makes time travel a bitch to do. Now I don't hate the idea of time travel in this game. In fact, I think it's a really cool idea to be able to see different versions of a stage you're in. Problem is, I can hardly fucking do it! Now each stage is broken into 3 acts, with the third act acting like a mini-zone before a boss fight. The third zone is also determined by whether you destroy certain machines in Act 1 and 2. These machines are found in the past of these acts and can only be destroyed in the past. Finding these machines can be irritating and can take ages to do. I've timed out plenty of times looking for them, and it's hard enough that getting to the past is annoying as shit. I ended up giving up on finding the machines and ended up just running through the stage like I would with almost every other Sonic game. Now if you do somehow destroy all the machines in Act 1 and 2, Act 3 will take place in the good future. Otherwise it will be in the bad future. I was only able to get the good future for Act 3 for one stage. One. Might as well talk about the stages now. There are 7 of them in total, and each stage name starts with 2 of the same letter: Palm Tree Panic, Collision Chaos, etc, etc. I'm going to be honest, I don't like Sonic City's style as it looks pretty busy and cluttered, which leads to more confusion about the level design. Palm Tree Panic is the first stage of the game, and it's probably my favourite. It looks like, to me at least, like a green hill with palm trees, hence its name. It's an alright stage, but it has some questionable level design, mostly to do with the enemy and trap placement. Look at this, why would you put spikes above a spring? Like, what the fuck? The boss fight is also one of the easiest in a Sonic game, you can beat it in about 30 seconds. The next stage is Collision Chaos, the casino level of the game I guess. At the beginning of the stage we see Metal Sonic for the first time, who immediately kidnaps Amy. Now this stage is filled with shit that will make you bounce, and it can get quite frustrating, from the large number of springs littered around the stage, to the bumpers that block your way more times than not, to the overpowered flippers which send you flying. This stage is also where you start to notice the stage is confusing you on where to go. As you proceed through the game, the levels will become more complex and cluttered, which can lead you to repeating sections over and over until you figure out what you need to actually do. Now the boss fight for this stage. Oh god, where to start with this boss fight? This boss has you using the flippers on the side to get up through the pinball machine in order to get to the top to hit Eggman. Now because the flippers are overpowered, the level puts bumpers in your way to stop you from getting to the top with one push. These bumpers can send you back to the beginning, which is extremely annoying. The fact that the area is so small doesn't help either. Sonic doesn't slow down on the flippers, and with how powerful they are and all the shit in the way, it's a fucking game of chance on whether you'll get to the top or not. And the area has random spikes around which have no reason to be there other than to be a dick. Eggman doesn't even hurt you, he just pushes you around, which leads to more aggravating moments. This boss fight sucks complete ass. The next stage is Tidal Tempest, the water level of the game. It's alright I guess. There's nothing memorable about it really, and it does suffer from poor enemy placement and level design, but it's not too bad as other stages. Travelling through time is a bitch in water though, since your speed is reduced and you can lose momentum quite easily. The boss fight is pretty mediocre too. It starts out with you chasing Eggman and hitting him. After that, Eggman flies to a different area and begins the second stage of the boss fight, which requires you to grab all the air bubbles surrounding Eggman to hit him while avoiding his attacks. It's kinda frustrating, that's all I really have to say. Quartz Quadrant's next up, and again it suffers from poor level design. This level is a prime example of how the levels aren't built around the time travel mechanic. I hit so many time travel poles, but not once did I travel through time. I kept running into shit that I couldn't see coming. This stage is also quite forgettable too, there's nothing really memorable about it. The boss is also annoying. You have to run on a treadmill to cause enough friction so Eggman's container thing breaks, while you avoid the bombs he drops on you. You also have to keep moving fast enough to make sure you don't fall back into the spikes. My main problem with this boss is that the area is too damn small. Trying to avoid the bombs and be fast enough to avoid the spikes is quite frustrating in such a confined space. The idea of this boss is cool, but even if you made the area bigger, it's still a boring fight really. Next up is Wacky Workbench. This level fucking sucks. Super bouncy floor, confusing as fuck level layout, multiple traps to fuck with you, and to top that all off, the level seems to constantly flash colours at you. It gives me headaches looking at it. I did manage to fix the background by going to the Future Enact 2, but I used a cheap tactic to do it. Don't even bother trying to travel through time, you'll have enough problems getting through the stage, and that bouncy ass floor can fucking die in a hole. The boss is pretty mediocre. You use blocks to bounce your way up to Eggman via the bouncy floor. Each time you hit Eggman, he goes up and you have to avoid falling rocks and spikes before repeating the process. It's not that interesting of a boss fight. Enough said. Next up is Stardust Speedway. This level is extremely fast paced, and while you'd think that's a good thing for a Sonic game, in this case it's a little too much. This level will throw you around, and it's a game of chance on whether the level's throwing you in the right direction or not. This can confuse you on where you're actually supposed to be going, and you can end up going back through a section again because the level threw you in the wrong direction. It's not the worst stage, but it's definitely not that good. I'd prefer to actually be able to control Sonic. Now the boss fight is actually a race against Metal Sonic, and it's gotta be the best boss fight in the game. You just need to get to the end of the area before Metal Sonic, staying ahead of Eggman's giant laser that is an insta-kill no matter what, while avoiding Metal Sonic's attacks. The racetrack, if you can call it that, isn't too bad. If you have a good reaction time, you'll fly through the course. After the race, you free aiming and you can choose to let her hug Sonic or not. All in all, this boss is fun and enjoyable and one of the best parts about this game. The final stage of the game is Metallic Madness, and madness it is. This level is one of my least favourite stages in any Sonic game. The level design for this stage absolutely sucks ass. This level will shoot you backwards with overpowered springs. It will throw you into spikes with springs that have no reason to be there other than to get you killed. It is filled with so many goddamn traps, obstacles and enemies you can't see coming, and it will confuse the fuck out of you to do a boring ass section all over again. This stage is the fucking worst stage of Sonic CD and one of the worst stages in Sonic history. The boss fight for this stage also sucks. Not because the actual boss itself sucks, but because getting to the boss is bullshit as all hell. Springs will fuck you over if you miscalculate a jump just slightly. Platforms that spin don't sync up, which can fuck you over. The bumper things from Collision Chaos are here to irritate the shit out of you, and these little flying laser fucks are bullshit to kill. And that's just before the actual boss. The boss itself is pretty mediocre and actually gets easier the more you hit Eggman. All you have to do in this boss is hit Eggman 4 times, and the hardest hit is the first one. After that he becomes much easier. Even when he shoots stuff at you, they aren't too much of a problem. It's quite an underwhelming final boss. Might as well talk about the music now. The Japanese soundtrack for Sonic CD is really nice. It was strange listening to the opening cutscene without Sonic Boom playing, but it was still nice. The music suits the levels it's paired with, and each stage has 4 different versions of its theme. One for the past, one for the present, one for the good future, and one for the bad future of the stage. The Japanese soundtrack is definitely better than the US version, and I can see why people say so. But a good soundtrack doesn't make up for the problems with the levels themselves. Sonic CD is a game I would only recommend to people who played the game as a kid and got really good at it. The levels are cramped, cluttered, and frustrating as hell. The boss fights aren't that good, the levels try to confuse you as to where to go, and the time travel mechanic is a bitch to use. Which is a shame because Sonic controls quite well. The best thing about Sonic CD is the music. If you want to get anything related to Sonic CD, get the soundtrack. The game itself isn't fun. If you want a classic Sonic experience, play Sonic 1, 2, or 3. Fuck, play Sonic 4 over Sonic CD. Play Sonic Mania instead. Fuck, at this point I'd rather play Sonic 06 than this shit. Anyways, that wraps up this video guys. Thanks for watching and I will talk to you guys later.